Hi, friends. Hi. Um, oh my gosh. Are you feeling like you wish that you had taken the blue pill? Are you regretting taking the red pill? I feel like that is the theme for the month of February, is that there may be some bumpiness and some confusion and some weird energy. And sometimes it just feels like you wish you could go back to being unconscious because it's a lot and it's constant. And it's okay too, right? Like it's okay if you want to disappear for a little bit, just like not too long, and make sure that you know how to find your way back. That was hard for me. I didn't, when I first became conscious, I slipped in and out of consciousness without being conscious of the fact that I was slipping into unconsciousness. And then, weeks would go by, and then all of a sudden I would wake up because of something that happened, and I would realize that I had been on autopilot for weeks. And that was really one of the saddest things for me, is once I understood how much of my life I was wasting being on autopilot, I couldn't stand it. But then what you end up discovering is that in this process of spiritual awakening and becoming conscious, a lot of the work is comes from understanding you, from looking at your programming and looking at the ways that you've been showing up and the impact that you've had. And that's really hard. And there's like a whole lot of suck in that, because just really facing your shadows and facing the ways in which you've hurt the people you love and have caused disconnection and have maybe, a sense of wasting time, or having relationships that could have gone totally different, and then reprocessing through the way you handled things because of your programming, and then realizing that you're not allowed to wallow in regret, because that's not it. That's not it. It's actually understanding what you did and then not doing it anymore, and not spending your time wallowing in regret. But there is this sort of self-reckoning, and that is also where you get to practice being gentle on yourself and finding really deep compassion for why you were the way that you were. And I'm saying this like it's a you thing. This is a me thing. So let me just like make it about me, because because that's what I like to do. I like to make it about me. By the way, this is my cherry juice that I'm drinking. Alcohol is out. I don't know if you know this, but no one's doing it anymore. Like, we're just not doing it. It was kind of overnight, all of a sudden, but literally no one's doing it anymore. Like, every single event or party or whatever that I've been to for the past couple weeks here has had like almost zero to no alcohol at it. Anyway, this is fun. It's cherry juice, and it actually helps you sleep. And so put it in a little red wine glass, and yeah, you don't even miss wine. True story. Yeah. So back to me, about me. And let me tell you all of the ways that I was terrible. Let me share with you all the ways that I had to come to terms with how terrible I was. So I've decided that I want to be a Renaissance woman. And the reason I'm talking about this Renaissance woman idea is because I met a Renaissance man when I was at Burning Man. It was my second year. And the conversation that I had with him started me on this journey of reflecting on my career and what it is that I had committed to doing for my entire life, like what I had used my gifts, my God given, my source given gifts, what had I used them for exactly? And you may know I was a television producer for my entire life. I was first a TV reporter, and then I was a TV producer, and I worked with production companies on that side of things. And then I ended up working on the network side for HGTV. And that was a really, really big part of my identity and what I did and how I made my money. And here I am at Burning Man, and I'm talking to this 26-year-old. We're washing dishes together. And he's telling me that he knows how to tie 45 different knots. And he knows how to blues dance. And he sewed the cape that he was wearing. And he's gone caving. And I mean, the list just kept multiple languages, traveled the world, has, holding down a job, really good job, and like, athletic, all of the things. And I'm just like, how are you doing all this? I know you're not married and you don't have kids. But you're like, how are you doing all of these things? And he paused for a minute and then he said, I don't have a television. And that hit me because, it really brought home how much of your life you can live if you're not staring at a screen. So I had an existential crisis because I realized that I was very good at making addictive television. And I had a really hard time with that because I don't think it's very healthy. I think getting out there in the world and living and doing and being is why we're here. I don't think we're here to watch other people do things. I think we're here to do the things. And I realized that making television that encouraged people to sit on their couch was no longer in alignment with who I was and who I wanted to be. And it took a little while to unwind from that career. It wasn't instantaneous, but that was the beginning of the end of my television career. And it's interesting because I was talking to a woman this weekend who had a very similar experience. She was working for an advertising agency, and then she became conscious and she realized that she no longer could do the job that she had been paid a lot of money to do. And as we talk about becoming conscious and we talk about programming and we think about the ways that society tells us to be and our parents, and then as we're becoming conscious, we're identifying those ways, and then we get to, separate ourselves from those and decide, we can say, hey, yeah, that actually is me, or no, actually, that wasn't me. It's like I've been told my whole life this thing, but it's actually not who I am, and it's not what I want. And it wasn't, believe it or not, it wasn't until recently that I actually thought about the fact that my title when I was at the network was Director of Lifestyle Programming. So it was right in the title. That's what I'm doing. I'm programming. So yeah. So that was one of the things that I needed to come to terms with. And I guess I'm talking about this because it feels like there's a lot of people struggling right now with feeling like they've been stuck in the dark night of the the soul for a long time, or that it's really hard to keep going. And I guess I'm glad that I kept going. And it was really hard. And we're still living a life. So there's all of it. You have to love all of the elements of life. At least that's what I figured out. When I came back from Burning Man this year, and I had this like deep, deep, deep sense of longing. And I ended up having to fall in love with the feeling of longing because it signified what it is that I was missing in my life. And it's really interesting because jealousy does the same thing, right? Like, pay attention. If you're feeling jealous, like, that's your soul telling you that's something you want. That's what you want in your life. And it's it's a beneficial tip off, right? Like, if you're going for the life that is for you, you should listen to that. Anyway, so some of the things that I had to realize about myself when I became conscious were things like realizing that I loved being right, and I put being right above anything else, really. And what I failed to understand is that when you're right, that's fine. You can feel good about that. Give yourself a pat on the back. Yay, you're right. But you've caused a disconnect with someone else who does not think that you're right. And now you have this, barrier between you. You've lost connection with someone who you care about. For what? Like, to be right? Like, who cares? Who cares about that? But to then look back at all of the times in my life where I had to be right and the impact of that on my life, that was a really hard one that was a hard one. And another one was realizing how much of my children's lives I missed because I was on autopilot. That one was like painful, deep regret, because I wish that if I could be the person that I am now and do it all over again, it would be, yeah. But that's not my path. It hasn't been my journey. And you can't regret. It all unfolds perfectly. The fact that my consciousness came about when it did, and the amount that I've grown and learned and expanded, and now have been able to really sort of lock in, the joy and the adventure and the play of this life. It's never too late. So when I think about the times that my journey got difficult, it was because I was in it. I was working through understanding another facet of my programming, and then understanding the implications of that on my life, and then having it occur to me that I want to be different. And that has changed everything. But that's also, I think, right? Like, it's the hard work, but it's also the key to gaining actual freedom, gaining true freedom. And feeling truly free is the goal. That's the goal. That's why you take the red pill. It's because it's worth it. It's because how could you not go for everything? you could possibly go for in this life. Do all of the side quests, take all of, you know, explore all of the levels, and yeah, and fall in love with the whole thing. I think that's also been a big part of it for me too, is that I have unconditional love for this life. I understand that part of the game is that we get to experience both sides, the duality, we get to understand love. We get to experience all of the quote unquote the feel good emotions. Like we get to feel love and joy and adventure and wonder, and then we also get to experience anger and sadness and heartache and loss and jealousy and all of sort of the shadow emotions. There's no way that you can live with a big open heart on this planet, loving up people and not have heartbreak along the way. But now I kind of welcome that, because it means that I'm living a big full life and I'm living with an open heart, and I don't want the flat line, I don't want the Prozac ride. I want to feel and experience all of it. Even the quote unquote bad emotions. And so when I have had moments where I've had to do some self-reflection about ways that I'm showing up that are not in alignment with who I want to be, then yeah, I just lean into them because it's part of the ride. So then the question is, if you aren't feeling right, if you're feeling down or depressed or not, vibrating at your highest vibration, and you are feeling disconnected from source, right? Like, have you figured out what it is that can bring you back? And that was really important. In the beginning, what brought me back were cold showers, which is funny because I hate cold water. And it's no coincidence, right? Like it's not lost on me that cold showers is what helped me to stay conscious when I was first dipping in and out of consciousness. Yeah. So if you're going through it, if you're having to evaluate everything about your life and whether it suits you anymore, that's normal. And it's actually the good news. I know it's hard. It feels like really scary to, oh my God, when I realized that I couldn't do the thing that I had always done anymore, like that, it's like such a part of it was such a part of my identity, right? Our programming is that you are your job. And so that was like really hard and interesting to process through. But then in addition to that, like, oh God, I went through this really long stretch of what am I going to do? What am I actually going to do? And, I just had this like aching wanting to remember what my soul's purpose was here. And I knew it wasn't making television. And when I think about how much my life has changed since this journey began, it is completely different. My career, my house, my relationships, everything. And I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't change a thing. And so now I'm at the place where I'm no longer getting the 2x4 method of enlightenment, which is kind of what I refer to as when the universe is trying to tell you that you're headed in the wrong direction and you don't listen and you don't listen and you don't listen and you get warnings and you don't listen. And then you get the 2x4, which stops you in your tracks and forces you to pay attention because it's that serious. And now, I'd like to think that because I've leaned into my intuition and because I know that the universe is conspiring for my greatness and yours, all of us, every single one of us, that it's easier to pick up on the signs. It's easier to change courses. And it's easier to trust that that's the right choice, that that's really the only choice, right? Like when you have enough signs telling you this is your direction, well, I've learned that you have to do it because the alternative is the 2x4 method of enlightenment. And listening actually leads to a life that is more, that is closer to the life that your soul has always dreamed of. Your soul is dreaming of a life and wants it for you and wants you to take steps and wants you to be in action to go and get it because it's your life and you deserve it. Yeah, that's a hard one too. I've struggled with that, right? Why is it so hard to believe that we deserve the life of our dreams, of our own personal dreams? But we do. I do. You do. Everyone does. That's why we're here, actually. That's what I think. That's why I'm here. I'm going for it, man. But you knew that already. Lots of travel up ahead, but I will try to stay consistent with these. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Yeah, I appreciate being able to do this